Excellent. Okay, amazing.
All right.
Welcome to the Amazing Post, Thomas Stanley.
You got
Real quick, we had this exhibition with Boriana Rosa from Planetary Party. Last winter, there was also some new materialists there. It was a big kind of huge production in Bulgaria. The idea of superpositional intersectionalism, obviously heavily influenced by Black quantum futurism, and we're talking about this idea of and kind of coordinating the concept of a superpositional guard, which is like an avant-garde but used with quantum mechanics.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, and also like a superpositional party. Okay, because I don't know. Have you ever heard of this guy named Joseph Beuys, by any chance?
Yeah, of course.
Oh yeah. Oh, sick. All right. I totally forgot you.
The early conceptual artist.
Yeah, German dude.
Yeah. Yep.
You know his work, 7,000 Oaks. It was actually directly catalyzed the formation of the Green Party.
No, I didn't know that.
7,000 Oaks at Castles, which was part of Documenta, Castles, Germany. He planted 7,000 Oaks, and then like a month later, it became a huge kind of rallying symbol that allowed the Green Party to kind of exert and announce itself, and kind of birth itself.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and I was like, holy crap, this guy actually he really kicked ass, So that was kind of the idea behind the superpositional party. If like Joseph Beuys did it in 1970, why not something again similar, or maybe probably better? Why not
better?
What exactly came out of the Green Party? Well, not only the Green Party, but I was like, I'm pretty sure Joseph Beuys is the reason that Germany like heavily funds culture, like the whole Berlin scene. A lot of the dance music, kind of mixture of media and all this stuff. I bet it's totally traceable back to like Beuys showed like what culture could do, and then the government was like, okay, now we have to fund it, or like we understand how it fits into society, and it doesn't fit in. There's a lot of critical artworks.
A society that Germany is a society that had this very brutal intersection with fascist control. Should come out of it with a desire to do everything it can to foster an open society, and artistic creation and cultural permissiveness is a part of that,
Yeah, totally. And I was also thinking about this before I was like floating this idea. I was like, I wonder if because of the trauma of history, like they understood like artists and like art cultural production as kind of a preemptive conflict resolution, right? Like
I ask myself really what would I change about the scene that I have access to in the United States of America? And I don't have like an easy, I've given it some thought, but I don't have a lot of easy answers. How would you reprioritize things so that more voices are heard, more approaches to working with more different kinds of materials are explored? I don't know. Like the establishment art scene endorses, all of these different transgressive ideas, but it does so only after the person has sort of found their way into the inside. So it's like the underground has always got this official endorsement on it, or it's starving,
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is what I was like thinking more in this terms of like an ecology and ecosystem, like a healthy, hypothetically
I think anybody would be really quite surprised at what I would do with $1 million to make sound art. And I bet I don't want to give my ideas away, but I don't think that it would be anything like the the institutional instances of public art that we're all familiar with. I think I would have a much larger penetration, a much deeper penetration into daily life with resources to actually make the sound worlds that I hear manifest, realizable to people.
No, I totally agree, because I've experienced it and I would vouch for it. So no, yeah. So I think it's like, because now we're talking about like what type of impact, what's going to make more or less of an impact.
Yeah.
No, I would totally back it, and I like that's what I mean. So after the Supervision Party exhibition, I was like working on that question, like how do you like proof that $1,000,000 and Thomas Stanley Sound Worlds will like have a much wider positive impact than $1,000,000 in like a Doritos commercial.
Exactly.
I just learned that like Netflix documentaries or videos, they get 3 million per like episode, and it's like they pump out 50 after there's like 50 episode packages and they all suck. It's like total
but they're also topical, and they all get like press coverage, and they all become sort of like the water cooler discussion thingy, and unfortunately that's kind of the what the track, that's how the track operates. That's how our discourse around art as something that people can consume, whether it's online or at the gallery or,
Oh, dude, an art thought. Okay, so it's a little bit raw. Okay, so I was thinking, I was like, because I was doing a lot of research into complexity science. I was like, you can actually define life. Life can actually be defined as a series of informational paradigm shifts. Like say the fish hops onto the land, and they're like, what if I grew an arm instead of another fin, right?
Yes.
It's a paradigm shift. And then like, what if I like grow some toes and stuff, So I was like, oh, you know what? Like evolution is like series of imaginative, informational kind of derailment or detourments, right? Okay. That have an outcome. And I was like, oh, this is hypothetical. I was like, if you were going to measure, we're just going to transplant this roughly. Let's measure poor asshole Peter's life in terms of the biological, kind of how organic systems function. We'd be like, okay, how many paradigm shifts did Peter generate, and at what scale, right? So then we could be like, a purpose of a physical system on Earth is to generate paradigm shifts. It's not to sustain itself. It's not like competition. It's not reproduction, right? It's not replication of itself. Actually, life is about continuous imagination. And I was like, and it's proven. I was like, okay, then we can just be like, okay, a human by extension, let's make this proposition, by extension, a human is kind of being of continuous imaginative shifts. And then we can be like, okay, now we extend this into the Netflix situation. We'd be like, how much of paradigm shift is another shitty Netflix episode versus Thomas Stanley's Sound World? And you get it at a 66% discount. He's only asked for 1 million. You get a 3 million shitty episode. No paradigm shift.
That's all I need.
Yeah, you get a fucking 66% discount on this. Paradigm shift 66. I'm gonna write this down. This is a great deal.
And we should be we shouldn't be an impediment to that process. We should add to the complexity. We shouldn't be so obsessed with institutions. To the game, like history was a pause. History was not an acceleration. It was actually a pause in evolution to allow us to do some really ugly things that could only be done within history, to build a machine of a certain kind, so that we would then be done building and tending to machines that could come out of this history phase and actually start evolving again. So now we have all this tech. We have it, and it's great, and we have plenty of it. And, you tell me how much more we need. I think we got plenty. Like the Nollywood film industry is still running on like versions of Windows that we've deprecated a long time ago, and they're doing fine. So now it's time, like, okay, we built the machine. We have the political function of decoupling the machine from the greedy elites that have basically, positioned themselves at a certain point within that, the feedback loop, but they're not necessary anymore. They're not necessary anymore. Like slaves and masters are obsolete, and both of them. And now it's time to like evolve again, man. It's time to like complexify consciousness the degrees of novelty and paradigm shifting that can happen at the scale of imagination and in the domain of internal thought, reflection, and internal construction is enormous. I mean, that to me is kind of the lesson of all psychedelic experience, is just how much me there is to me that I never get to, and how do I get to the rest of that me, That's
amazing. That's a really good, I'm really impressed with that.
I
agree. That's like amazing.
It's a scale thing for me. It's like, wow, there is so much of me, and I'm living in the tiniest little corner, and I've been crowded into that corner to serve an agenda that's about, producing wealth for other people.
Right.
So now it's like, okay, history is over, and we had a system that needed masters and slaves to create the machine. The machine is pretty much done. And now it's kind of like, can we just get, I honestly think like maybe the slaves have to take the first move, because if the slaves go away, the masters disappear too.
Sure, I agree with that. But I also think about this, like, what if there's a me inside that is neither, so we can postulate, propose like a me that's like neither slave nor master, right?
Right. Right.
And if we start from that position, we'd be like,
right.
What is the me that's going to do this thing or this function of constructing more paradigm,
yes.
in line with the complexity of life, complexification of life. Kind of on a humorous note, as a counterpart, it's like, so I was developing this character of Captain Amasia.
Yeah.
Like his shtick literally is that he's like a quantum plumber.
Okay.
Like the idea is that like the planet, all these systems and stuff we live in, like the technology, all the stuff, the policy, blah blah blah. I think I would extend this idea that there's more of it than it knows it's there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Also that.
Yeah. Yeah.
On this idea of the first stab, kind of like, but he's kind of a first plumber, so he goes into the plumbing. And he's just like, plunging out stuff with a quantum plunger. It's like, there's some extra dope energy in this system, that has been untapped. The invention of the turntable, where, it was a consumer grade technology, right? Like,
right.
Designed like you push one button, then you sit there passively and listen, right?
Right.
But then like some kids, like they're like, after years, there's probably like millions, a cajillion plays happen, like people for 10 years or something, like a decade of people using this machine this one way, and then some kid or whatever, there's a group of kids that are just like, I'm gonna put my damn hand on it.
Grand Wizard Theodore.
Yes, exactly.
Grand Wizard Theodore invented scratching, and he did it accidentally. He heard something. He was trying to stop that record from spinning so he could hear his mom calling him to dinner. And something about it. Now you got to figure this is like the tiniest little bit of sound is what he heard as he reached up to grab that record. But it was enough for him to go, you know what? There's something here.
Right.
And he kept pulling, and before you know it, he had turned the turntable into a fully functional musical instrument. And now every conservatory worth their salt has a fucking DJ, concentration,
that like tiny, accident. It's like a
tiny
fish flopping onto land. Yeah, grew an entire ecology.
But see, look, that sound, no doubt, had been generated dozens, if not hundreds of times before, but only Grand Wizard Theodore was smart enough or insightful enough or inspired enough to say, you know what, this is something. This is not just noise. This is energy, and I can turn this into signal and make it into music.
Right. Well, I also love that, I mean, this is what we say, the intelligence and all the creativity and stuff, because it's like he's using something that was in front of everybody, right?
Yes.
He didn't like invent a new machine.
No.
He didn't like, it wasn't like, I'm going to go construct a different turntable. It was just like, whoa, I interact with this thing slightly differently. It just has like unbelievable different set of possibilities,
Exactly.
Okay, sick. I was just remembering that. Maybe that's it for today. Like,
all right, good. We made some progress.
I'm gonna slap this on Instagram and tag you. All right.
All right, good enough. Do something for me and tell people I got a record that I want them to listen to. It's on Bandcamp, eatbushmeat.com.